Good morning, I'm Chris Jansing. With the first big hurdle cleared for new gun laws, we're learning more about how it will play out in the Senate. Next week, there could be votes Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And with debate and amendments, it could be weeks before any kind of final deal gets through. There were some positive signs yesterday when the Senate voted 68-31 to start consideration on the bill. The president called the Newtown families personally to deliver the news.
I was very pleased with how many yeses we did have and happy that we were able to get this passed, but I was still completely shocked that there were so many who were still against us and who still believe that we don't need to be heard, that Newtown doesn't deserve a vote, and that nothing needs to be done.
But the bigger fight may not be in the Senate, in the House. Congressman Steve Stockman and Paul Braun sent a letter to Speaker John Boehner expressing their opposition to background checks. And on his Facebook page, Congressman Jeff Duncan compared the background checks bill to genocide in Rwanda. Here's what he wrote. Ask yourselves about a national gun registry database and how that might be used and why it is so wanted by progressives. Read about the Rwandan genocide, the Hutu and Tutsi tribes. Read that all Tutsi tribe members were required to register their address with the Hutu government and that this database was used to collect Tutsi for slaughter at the hands of the Hutu. I use this example to warn that national databases can be used with evil consequences. I want to bring in the National Journal's Chris Frates and Roll Call Senior Editor David Drucker. Good to see both of you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
Chris, comparing background checks to genocide. Bottom line, is that an indication of how tough this could all get in the House?
Absolutely. There was a lot of celebration among Democrats this week. They finally found a dance partner in Senator Pat Toomey, a Republican from Pennsylvania, to help to get a background checks bill that would get some bipartisan support through the Senate. They opened up debate. We're going to have debate next week. Lots of patting on the back. But let's remember, there are a number, half dozen or so, vulnerable Senate Democrats who are unlikely to vote for any final legislation just because they voted to begin debate. Doesn't mean that they'll vote to end it or to vote for the final product of that debate. And then it still has to go to the House. And as you point out, you have Republicans there who are very, very conservative. They're from conservative districts, and there's not a lot of reason for them to pass anything on gun laws. And it's going to be a much tougher road for them to hoe on the House side.
So, Chris, how does Senator Rubio sell this to conservative members of his party?
Well, you know, he has been on the offensive here for several months, meeting with conservative talk show hosts, conservative editorial boards, making the case that it's a conservative case, it's a conservative bill to strengthen the fabric of business in our country, providing needed workers, and a pathway to citizenship that really will, as we said in 2007, it was a very, popular catchphrase, going to the back of the line. And that's what folks will be doing here. They will grant people who came here illegally some kind of temporary legal status where they would be able to work and to travel, but they would not become citizens. And then after a decade or so, they would then be allowed to apply for a more permanent status. And that's important, I think, for Republicans. But, I had lunch with an old Republican Senate hand this week who said that it really is a tougher lift to get immigration through than anybody is really talking about right now. We saw it in 2007. You had John McCain and Ted Kennedy, two lions of the Senate, two master deal makers. It fell apart on them, and while things look very positive right now, it's a long way from having a piece of legislation put on the Senate floor to getting it passed. And then, of course, as we talked about with guns, it runs into the same problem in the House. So this is certainly a positive step, and Rubio is going to get out there ahead of the week. He's going to do 7 Sunday shows, as you point out, to try to ease this legislation into the public discourse, but we're still a long way from finished here.